Hello and welcome. Today we've got Penny L.A. Shepard, and today we are going to be discussing Hollywood dark journalists. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Penny decides to use our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Penny, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Very good. I'm doing different shows, and I create PowerPoints. I actually go by my actual name when I was in covert operations under MK Ultra's Agent X11. So I go by Agent X11, Hollywood dark journalist. And Hollywood is a term which we use. We're describing Hollywood with the satanic faction of it. So that's basically what I report on. And I go very in depth. So after this show, I will be going a little bit more in depth, and maybe next time, because we had to work out some technical difficulties, we'll have a little bit more time to revisit some of these things.
Absolutely. It's a Hollywood, not a Hollywood, because it's very hellish.
Yes, it is.
So absolutely, it's very satanic, and we are going to expose them, and we will win this war, no matter how long it takes. We are putting all our energy into that direction. And thank you so much for coming on to share your intelligence with the viewers. Why don't you just give us a short summary of what you would like to discuss today, and then we can go ahead with sharing your screen, since you would like to show the viewers what it is you would like to share today.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things I'm reporting on a lot of different stories, and I will be on Dave Zublik following this show, which is going to be 3 hours of speaking on some of these things. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was Gilbert Godfrey. Many people don't know who Gilbert is. He was the voice of the parrot in Aladdin at Disney, but he was also very filthy comic. And he worked with Bob Saget, who, as people know, Bob Saget died in mysterious circumstances. People don't know if it was actually from the jibber jab or from, someone hitting him on the back of the head. No one actually knows. It's speculatory at this point. And his family has basically closed the inquest results. And they just want to just let it go. So he worked along with Gilbert Godfrey. At one point, I was a singer and an actress in Hollywood, which is why I report on it. And my evil brother John is also head of MK Ultra and Deep State, and we are in the family of Joseph Mengele. So I had a dream that when I left my brother, who was my agent, that I was on set and Gilbert Godfrey was there. Now, you have to understand how weird this is, because he's a very obscure individual. There would be probably no chance of me ever meeting him in real life. And I knew when that happened that within 2 weeks that my brother John was going to ask me to rejoin Singer, which is exactly what happened. So this is a little bit about Gilbert Godfrey. And I have some videos that I'm going to discuss. One of them is remembering Gilbert Godfrey and who he actually was. But I have another video. I'm going to play just a little bit of that, and then I'm going to skip to another video about him roasting Bob Saget and talking about Bob Saget raping a little girl, and it was a fire ghost.
And you're saying that Bob was the one that played the voiceover for Aladdin?
No, Gilbert Godfrey played the parrot in Aladdin, but Gilbert Godfrey and Bob Saget were very good buddies. Bob Saget was on Full House, and Bob Saget recently died under mysterious circumstances. Bob Saget was also a very raunchy comic, but his front was that he was this good family man, Danny Tanner, in Full House. When in fact, what you're seeing actors portraying and act a character, and that character, people attribute that the character's attributes to the actor. So if the actor is a hero, then they attribute that to the actor. If the character is a hero, they think the actor is a hero, when in fact they're not. They're putting a face on for you that is showing that they're philanthropic individuals, when in fact they're very nefarious individuals, and they're doing nefarious acts behind the scenes. So that's what we're seeing throughout Hollywood, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I see as a child, when I used to watch a film and I really liked the film, I would automatically love the actor. Before I would even consider their background or their personalities or anything. So, is that the type of conditioning that you're referring to?
Yes, I think that what happens in what they desire when they basically are selling their soul to Satan is for fanhood, so an idolation. So you give your idolization to that individual. For instance, Jimmy Savile or Savile, however you say his name. There's a Netflix show on him. He was an individual that presented himself as this kind of helter-skelter, hapless comedian, when in fact he was a prolific pedophile, and he was raping children behind the scenes. He was also in a hospital for approximately like 28 years. And he's talking about how he's in this hospital where he's actually raping the children that are in the hospital. But yet he's out in front saying, look at me, what a good guy I am. I'm a philanthropist. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. When in fact he is a prolific pedophile. So they're hiding who they actually are in real life. And the premise of the CIA is deny, 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 attack, attack, attack. So they will never tell you the truth about anything. And these individuals are deep state CIA. So not the differential between CIA and deep state CIA is that they are intelligence and they are working for nefarious factions. They're not actually on the rolls of the CIA, but they are participating in black ops, and they are part of the military industrial entertainment complex, those that come from Hollywood, aka Hollywood.
Absolutely. Why don't we go ahead, Penny, and you can share your screen and we can go through the contents, please.
Okay. So can you see it?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. So here's the first one. It's about Gilbert Godfrey. And this is just basically going to say who he is. It's about 3 minutes.
Hollywood, screechy, delightfully abrasive,
You're not here.
and unmistakably New York. He gave life to Iago the parrot in Disney's Aladdin,
I can't take it anymore.
and a different kind of bird in those memorable Aflac commercials.
I want to return this stock.
Why?
It's very annoying.
From movies to stand-up comedy, Gottfried would do anything for a laugh, and as he famously quipped, a paycheck.
Why this calling? Why this Celebrity Apprentice?
Because, most people answer the phone, hello. I answer the phone, I'll take it.
He dropped out of high school and started playing New York comedy clubs at just 15, later joining the cast of Saturday Night Live.
I ain't been nowhere and I ain't been doing nothing.
He played brash with the best of them.
Don't let the fact that my door's closed dissuade you in any way from entering my office.
Even joking on Today in 1987 that his fame would be short-lived.
Now, say, remember there was that guy, Gilbert Godfrey, I think the Today Show was it, and then nothing ever happened to him after that.
But he was back with Kathy Lee and Hoda over 20 years later. Not afraid to push boundaries, his sharp act sometimes got him in trouble, most famously during a roast after the 9/11 tragedy.
I have to catch a flight to California. I can't get a direct flight. They said they have to stop at the Empire State Building first.
He responded by launching into a raunchy joke about aristocrats that brought down the house.
It showed like in situations like that, people need to laugh.
Despite his unfiltered act, friends remembering Gottfried as a sweet, sensitive, and shy person. His family tweeting their heartbreak, along with this reminder. Although today is a sad day for all of us, please keep laughing as loud as possible in Gilbert's honor.
Okay, so that basically shows you how the media is portraying this individual. They're portraying him as, a laudable individual, had a dirty act, but that's okay. He's a great family man, and very contrary to who this particular individual was. Now, I'm going to show you. There's a video where he talks he roasts Bob Saget. Let's see if it's this one. Here we go. Okay. Now, Gilbert Godfrey roasts Bob Saget, jokes about him raping and murdering a girl. This is, I'm going to play 2 minutes of this, and this is horrific.
Why should we pick Bob Saget, who raped and killed a girl in 1990? Well, first of all, it's not.
Okay, before I go further, you hear them laughing at that?
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem like it's something that's funny? Because I fail to see the humor. I'll continue.
True. It's not true that Bob Saget raped and killed a girl in 1990. How do you make an ass hurt? The Olsen Twins say, well, Bob Saget hands you a chocolate milk that he just made, and you wake up 3 hours later lying on your stomach.
Okay. These are that's Danny Tanner. He plays Danny Tanner. So the person that you see in the black suit to the very left, that's Bob Saget. And these are his full house cast. The other individual plays Jesse. And he was also a friend of Taylor Hawkins, who most recently died. He was a drummer under nefarious circumstances. And we can talk about that on another show, because I've done a whole full out thing on him. So these individuals are sitting there, they're laughing about him raping and murdering a girl. Now, when he was talking about the Olsen twins, they played on Full House. They played, this is the person who played Danny Tanner, Bob Saget. And they were his children. They were twins that played the part of his daughter. But in the business, you can only work a child for so long. So they have twins so that when one child gets tired or exceeds the time limit, maybe 4 hours a day or however long it is that they're on set, then they switch to the other one. So that's where they were using twins. And the Olsen twins have gone on. They did not do a reboot when they did the Fuller House. They didn't join for the reboot. And I don't know what their reasons were. And, there was speculation in his death that it was foul play in Bob Saget's death, because he did say that he had received the jibber jab and he was currently sick. So we don't know actually what caused his death, but he had a fractured skull. So they say he fell and hit his head on the back of the bed, but no one actually really knows what happened. And he also had predicted that he was going to die shortly thereafter. He was talking with one individual and said, well, I guess that means I'm going to die soon. And in fact, he did. So Gilbert Godfrey was a very good friend of his. And you see him roasting him because he was a very good friend of his. And then here's some things about from some of his friends. I'm just heartbroken about Gilbert Godfrey's passing. I had no idea he was battling an illness. He was a treasure, a hilarious, deeply feeling mensch of a man. What you heard there was just a sampling of how evil this individual is. So I talk about a little bit about his early life, about who he is. Now, one of the reasons why I'm bringing up Gilbert Godfrey, I'll just scroll down to here, is because Gilbert Godfrey, he was on a lot of different shows. One of them, he was on The Celebrity Apprentice, which The Celebrity Apprentice was an American television reality competition series. It was the variation of The Apprentice series, which is hosted by Donald J. Trump, who later became the 45th president of the United States. And it was also former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger worked in conjunction with that show. Then another show that he did, and just talking a little bit more about that, was a show that I was on. And there's more tributes to him. And so this is talking about how he died, because people are going to say that he was, murdered. Actually, he had a heart condition. So that's why he died. Another person who was on the set of the Silk Stockings, which I was just doing back on, I contacted him. His name is John O'Hurley. John O'Hurley played an individual in this particular scene, which he kills these people with morphine. So I contacted him and I said, he had said that he was the most interesting man, it was the seventh most interesting man in the world. And I said, that's funny because my brother John says he's the most interesting man in the world. And then he said, well, I guess I'll just have to be, make good with being the seventh. I said, that's hysterical. I worked with you on the set of Silk Stockings, Mud Queen Murders in the 90s with Gilbert G. I told Gilbert I didn't like him at first and that he had a fan because I watched him on set and he seemed very ingenuous to everyone. I say, in retrospect, 30 years later, tell him Penny L.A. Shepard says she now rescinds that statement. He is, as always, obnoxious. Then I invited John, who I like John. John's very nice. I said, I'm on chapter 22. I edit as I write. Enjoy a little light reading at bedtime. Give your wife a kiss and tell her Penny L.A. Shepard said hello. Tell Gilbert. Penny said, how do you do it? Still obnoxious after all these years. And I haven't reached back out to John. I had said something to him about, he had made a comment about Britney Spears on one of his game shows. And I said, you might want to contact Britney and say you're sorry. And that's the last thing that he read that I had written. So Silk Stockings is one of the shows that I was on. Silk Stockings is off of it's a parody on, the actual silk stockings that we used to wear. It's an American crime drama, a television series that premiered on CBS November 7th, 1991. And it was created by Stephen J. Cannell, but it's actually the program was run by Stu Siegel. He was an executive producer. So Stu Siegel Productions, as it turns out, Stu Siegel is a Boston area movie director and producer who's a founder of Stu Siegel Productions, a San Diego, California-based television production studio. Stu began his career in 1970 directing sexploitation movies and hardcore pornography, including the famous Insatiable, including starring Marilyn Chambers. Eventually, he got work in television. In 1984, Stephen J. Cannell tapped him to produce a TV series, Hunter. He opened his San Diego studio to film this TV show, Silk Stockings, in 1991. In 1991, I was working with Don, my brother. In addition to TV production, his studio also offers hyper-realistic training for military personnel. The company this training is conducted under is called Strategic Operations. Now, you have to ask yourself this because my whole premise, what I speak about, is I speak about the military-industrial entertainment complex, which is one and the same with the military-industrial complex. They work hand in hand together. So they are one in the same. CIA is infiltrated in everything. So this is Insatiable, which was with Marilyn Chambers. He went by the name Godfrey, which is weird. Gilbert Godfrey, right? He went by the name Godfrey Daniels. And as you see here, it says that it starred Marilyn Chambers and was directed by Stu Siegel, credited as Godfrey Daniels. So he used an AKA. But then how does this pornographer end up with, this is a little bit more about Chambers. How does he end up? The Chambers, Marilyn Chambers, actually, this leads to the VP Camilla Harris, because Willie Brown, her two producers and on the green door were the Mitchell brothers. And one of the Mitchell brothers killed another Mitchell brother. And then when Jim Mitchell died at his ranch, Mayor Willie Brown, and the current VP Camilla, he attended and spoke with Marilyn Chambers. And then Mayor Willie Brown and the current VP Camilla Harris had an affair. Well, he was separated from his wife, was still married to it. So now we're linking the current vice president with pornography. In case anyone doesn't understand, who these people are. There's Camilla Harris had an affair with a 60-year-old man when she was 29 who launched her career. So in addition to the television production, his studio also offers hyper-realistic training for military personnel. The company this training is conducted under is called Strategic Operations. So they call it ST-Ops, Strategic Operations, STOPS. STOPS is a military law enforcement and medical training company in San Diego, which consists of a converted movie studio that's been dedicated to so-called hyper-realistic training. The president of Strategic Operations is Stu Siegel. STOPS is part of Stu Siegel Productions, an independent television movie studio. And so you can see where it's located there. So how is this even possible that this individual who was a pornographer has has a movie studio, and now he's training military and law enforcement. STOP's military services include a tactical training laboratory built to realistically depict a wide array of physical locations for tactical military training. These incorporate realistic movie stage type effects and professional trained role players. So we're talking about live action role play to depict typical human interactions found in combat. There is also a simulated ship and several simulated aircraft on site for maritime and aviation-based training. The training site is cleared for simulation. STOPs can also export training facilities based on structures incorporating cargo containers built on site by STOPs personnel or lightweight relocatable habitation units, RHUs, which can be set up by the customers. So again, I'm going to ask you, how is it possible? Also, here's the medical. STOPs offers a surgical cut suit, CS, which allows first responders and physicians to practice performing surgical and emergency procedures on patients with simulated traumatic life-threatening injuries. This cut suit is anatomically correct with versions depicting both genders and includes alimentary canal simulation as well as both arterial and non-arterial blood supplies. STOPs has also created a blood pumping system that can be controlled remotely, glass trousers for treatment of severe bleeding injuries that are above the knee, and above tourniquet placement, also a 6-in-1 TCC trainer and upper torso that provides training for multiple procedures to clear airways and restore breathing. We're talking about a movie production company that is now training the military. So when you're on site of one of these productions, which I was, you don't know who's actually sitting next to you. Is it a CIA officer? Is it an FBI officer? Is it a police officer? Is it someone that's going to sex traffic you off of that set? You don't know. So this is, these are some of the things that when you start researching one thing, it's going to lead you to another. It's going to lead you to another. It's going to lead you to another. So this particular show that I was on, I'll just read you a little bit. After I left John, my agent, I had a dream. I told my next handler, Sam, who I married, that I dreamt that I was on a set with Gilbert Godfrey. I also dreamt that I was with two lead singers who were black men and who were wearing high heels and fur coats. I have dreams that come true. I told him John is going to come back in about 2 years and asked me to rejoin Stinger. About 2 years transpired from when I left John and when I received a call from back on San Diego to be on set for Silk Stockings. I went not knowing anything about the show. I walked on set and saw Gilbert Godfrey's director's chair. He was not the director, but they had a chair set up for him to rest in between takes with his name on the back of it. At the time, I was working in a band called Backstreet. I had worked with them since the 80s. My two male singers, I was a female lead, were black. I knew when I saw Gilbert's chair that John was going to ask me to rejoin Stinger. We have dreams that come true. Those of us that are actually MK Ultra covert assets and have psychic abilities. I am a psychic super soldier. Backstreet was a cover band and what we're recovering for. We played with many musicians who played in top bands. 2 weeks after the gig with Silk Stockings, I was at the Montebello Inn. There was no one in the club. We call it playing to the wall. Larry, the guitar player, had hooked up all the electricity onto one outlet. The lights in the house were flickering on and off. The power for the band was starting and stopping. I turned to the drummer, Andy Gold, who had asked me to marry him, and said jokingly, "Satan is in the house." And everyone laughed. I turned back to face the audience, and there was this one person sitting in the dark corner of the room. It was John. I turned my back to Andy Gold and I said, "Wow, Satan really is in the house. It's my agent, John. I guess I better say hello to him." I jumped off the stage and went to say hello to John. He had a black eye, which I discussed this with him years later. I said, "How'd you get the black eye, John? Did your wife give you that shiner?" He said, "I bet I look terrible." I cupped his hand in my face and said, "You always look good to me, John." And he asked me to rejoin Stinger, and I declined because I had foreknown about it. So I'm just going to show you a couple more things because I'm going to have to jump off. But let me play this one real quick. This is actually part of Silk Stockings. So I'm behind. There's a woman playing. She's whistle blowing. The mud is being thrown, and I'm behind her. And you see me off on the left. And I put my hand over my mouth. At this particular point, when I'm doing this, my brother, David, was writing a book called The Whistleblower. It was about the Vatican, Bush, and about my family. So I'm on set, and this is what happens.
Yeah. I did.
At this rate, your kitchen will be done by, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years.
I don't want to discuss this anymore, okay?
Okay.
Okay, She's blowing the whistle. Now you see the two girls, they're mud wrestlers. And the one girl's getting her head pounded in the mud. They know that I'm MK Ultra. They know who I am. I'm on this set, which we've now established on this set. It's who is in live action role play. And now I'm questioning, who was I sitting with? Who was I talking to? Were they covert agents? Who were they? I don't know. That's me right there. That's me in the corner. I put my hands over my mouth. The point is, I am now a whistleblower like my brother David was. And my brother David was murdered because of the book that he wrote, which no one will ever see.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
At the end of this, the girl in the pink, she quits her job. Well, I quit working with John. And there are other similarities in here. Gilbert Godfrey plays a character named Joey, and he's almost run over by a red truck, which the person who had the truck said it was stolen. My red truck was stolen. I had a red truck when I was with John. So, I'm going to go more in depth into this on Dave's show. And here's some more pictures. Another thing, they had me dressed as a cop, right? I was with a cop. Sam Van Hooser was a retired Carlsbad police officer who he was my handler, who I was sent to. And that's me. It's blurry, but that's me behind him because I remember the cross. So you have to set up your scenes, and you have to set up who's going to cross in front of who, so you don't run into people. So I'm behind him crossing, and then I'm outside again, dressed up like a police officer. And that's Rob Estes. If you're working background, people tend to think, well, you don't have a role where you're not speaking, but actually you're there for a reason. You just maybe don't know what that particular reason is. So that's me also dressed up as a police officer, which I found very interesting. And then this Silk Stockings premiered November 7th, 1991. I married my husband, Sam, November 7th, 1997, 6 years later. The Mud Queen Murders premiered November 6th, 1994. It was written by Evan Smith and directed by Richard Friedman. So I looked up these people, but here you see a mud wrestler is murdered. Gilbert Godfrey from USA Network's USA Up All Night guest stars as Joey Melman. And when I looked on his wiki, I did not see that listed. That came from the Silk Stockings. I didn't see it listed. So here's a little bit of, what this is all about and just the parallels that were in my life. So I say, regarding the scene at Silk Stockings episode, Mud Queen Murders, I'm sitting in the audience watching the mud get slung. I even got some mud on my gold dress. We shot my gold dress. We shot the scenes twice with clothing change. Once from the front facing me, and then once from behind. I was also dressed as a police officer. I was with Sam at the time. Sam became my second husband. He was a retired Carlsbad police sergeant. He was also a morphine addict. So these individuals on the set in the story, they were killed with morphine. So are you following anything that I'm saying? Do you understand the implications of how they're actually putting you on these sets? And these are military sets. I say, I'm sitting behind the woman who's the owner of the club in the actual, in the actual story. She has her eyes on Gilbert Godfrey to be her boyfriend. He'd also stated he wanted to be her business partner, not her love interest. She asked him, when are we getting married? John and I talked about marriage. I told him to stop cheating on his wife or get divorced. Once when I was in his office, he said, you know what I wish, Penny? I wish you would get married and have a terrible marriage and you and I could still have sex. Now, bear in mind, I found out later on this man is my brother. I said, John, when I'm single, but when I'm married, I'm faithful in marriage. The club owner blows a whistle. My brother David was writing The Whistleblower, which is an unpublished book you will never find. He also wrote a screenplay, which was taken from me in Illinois by an agent of John's and Durrell's. At the time, I was still under MK Ultra. I watched the one girl pounding the other girl's head into the mud, and the mud is flying. But I put my hand over my mouth because I'm still under MK Ultra, and I don't know. My brother David was whistleblowing at the time. I was on the set of Silk Stockings being stalked by my handlers, John and Durrell. So I think maybe we'll close there. And if anyone wants to follow this up, I'm going to be on Dave Zublex in a couple minutes. And it's going to be 3 hours that we're on there. I think Megan's going to join us, but I'm not certain if she is or not. As I said, she's having a very difficult time right now in her case, and she does what she can when she gets an opportunity. So if you get an opportunity to help in any way to fund her funding is GiveSendGo/Megan Walsh I think it's Megan_Walsh or Megan Walsh _. So please try to help her in any way that you can. If you have any information that you want to discuss with Megan or with me, my email is Shepard, Shepard, the word entertainment @gmail.com. And my blog is shepherd_entertainment.blogspot.com. And my phone number is 619-779-9771. I will not take a phone call unless you're in my contacts. So if you'd like to speak with me, please text my phone, tell me who you are. I'll put you in my contacts and I will try to get back with you forthwith.
Well, Penny, thank you so much. I know you've got to go. So thank you so much for sharing that with us again. And we'll catch up very soon. And please wish my best wishes to Megan. Thank you very much. And God bless you. Bye-bye.